The GPS said 15 minutes to Gangnam Tower, but traffic had other plans. Maya Brooks gripped the steering wheel of her beat-up Honda Civic, watching red brake lights stretch like a neon river through downtown Los Angeles. The food in the back seat, some overpriced Korean fusion from that new spot on Wilshire, was getting cold. And cold food meant bad tips. And bad tips meant her mother's medication got pushed back another week. She'd been delivering food for 8 months now, ever since the hospital bills had swallowed her college fund and spat out a different version of her future. Pre-med at UCLA had become maybe community college eventually, and how many deliveries can I squeeze into a 12-hour shift? 24 years old, black girl from Inglewood, nobody special, just trying to survive. The Gangnam Tower penthouse wasn't on any normal delivery app. The order had come through a private number, cash payment promised, with a tip that would cover 2 weeks of groceries if the caller hadn't been lying. Maya had learned to recognize desperation in voices. The woman who'd called older, Korean accent thick with panic, had been drowning in it. "Please hurry," the woman had said. "Mr. Kang won't eat for anyone. He keeps asking for. I don't know what he's saying anymore." The tower stabbed into the LA skyline like a glass knife. 42 floors of steel and money and people who lived in a different stratosphere. Maya pulled up to the service entrance at 9:47 p.m., 17 minutes late, and grabbed the bags with hands that trembled slightly. Not from fear, from exhaustion that had become her baseline. The security guard at the service elevator looked her up and down delivery uniform. Natural hair pulled into a ponytail, the kind of tired that lived in bones, and his expression said what his mouth didn't. "You don't belong here." "Penthouse," Maya said, holding up the bags. "Order for Kang." His hand moved to his radio. "Nobody told me about a delivery. Listen, I'm just trying to do my job. Someone ordered food. I brought food. That's the extent of my involvement in whatever." The elevator doors opened. A woman emerged, 50s, Korean, hair in a severe bun, wearing a gray uniform that screamed household staff. Her face was etched with stress so deep it looked permanent. "You're the delivery?" Relief flooded her features. "Thank God. Come, quickly." "Mrs. Song, the protocol says," the guard started. "The protocol can wait. Mr. Kang hasn't eaten in 2 days. His son is in Singapore closing a deal and can't get back until tomorrow. If Mr. Kang hasn't seen, Kang dies tonight because we were worried about protocol. You can explain that to Junwoo Kang yourself." The guard stepped back like she'd pulled a gun. Mrs. Song grabbed Maya's arm, not rough, but urgent, and pulled her into the elevator. The doors closed. They ascended in silence, thick enough to choke on. "Is he sick?" Maya asked. "Dying." Mrs. Song's voice carried the flat acceptance of someone who'd already processed grief. "Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctors gave him 2 months. That was 6 weeks ago." She looked at Maya with eyes that held too much. "He's choosing to go. Refusing treatment. Refusing food. Refusing everything." The elevator opened onto a hallway that belonged in an architectural magazine. White marble, recessed lighting. Art that probably cost more than Maya's car. "Mrs. Song moved fast, and Maya followed, the bags of food feeling absurdly inadequate against the weight of approaching death. "Why did you call for delivery?" Maya asked. "Don't you have, private chefs?" "He fired them all. Won't let anyone near him except me. And I can't." Mrs. Song's voice cracked. "I can't watch him fade like this. He keeps speaking in Korean, rambling, words I don't understand, and my Korean isn't. I'm 3rd generation. I've lost too much of the language." They stopped at massive double doors. Through them, Maya heard it. A voice, weak and rasping, speaking in fluid, desperate Korean. The cadence was familiar. Her ex-boyfriend David had sounded like that when he talked to his grandmother. That particular Seoul dialect that turned certain consonants sharp. Mrs. Song opened the doors. The penthouse was a study in minimalist wealth. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Furniture that looked uncomfortable but expensive. Everything white and gray and cold. And in the center, in a hospital bed that seemed obscene in its clinical intrusion, lay an old man. Kang Dae-jung couldn't have weighed more than 90 pounds. His skin had that translucent quality of paper held up to light. IV bags hung like accusations beside the bed, tubes snaking into arms that were just bone wrapped in skin. But his eyes, God, his eyes were still sharp, feverish and aware and burning with something that might have been rage or might have been fear. He was speaking in Korean. Fast, urgent, the words tumbling over each other. 2 nurses stood nearby, helpless. A doctor hovered by the monitors, adjusting settings that clearly weren't helping. They all looked at Maya with the same expression. What's she going to do? He's been like this for an hour, Mrs. Song said quietly. Gets agitated, tries to get out of bed. We had to sedate him twice yesterday. The doctor says his heart can't take much more stress, but we can't calm him down, can't understand what he needs. Maya set down the food bags, moved closer to the bed. The old man's eyes found her focused with laser intensity, and his mouth kept moving, Korean syllables spilling out like prayers or curses. And Maya understood every word. 어디 있어? 왜 아무도 이해하지 못해? 내 아들은 어디 있어? 나 혼자 죽게 하지 마. Where are you? Why does no one understand? Where is my son? Don't let me die alone. Something in Maya's chest cracked open. This old man, this stranger in his glass tower, was terrified. Not of death, of dying alone, misunderstood, calling out in a language no one around him spoke. She'd learned Korean for David, spent 2 years immersed in it because she'd thought they had a future, dropped the language after they'd broken up because hearing it hurt too much, reminded her of promises that died. But apparently, her brain had held onto it, muscle memory of a language learned in love. Maya moved to the bedside, knelt so she was eye level with the old man, and spoke. Her Korean accented but clear, pronunciation shaped by countless hours with David's patient corrections. 할아버지, 저 여기 있어요. 혼자가 아니에요. Grandfather, I'm here. You're not alone. The room stopped breathing. Kang Dae-jung's eyes went wide. His mouth froze mid-word. One trembling hand reached out, fingers grasping at air, trying to touch her face to confirm she was real. Maya caught his hand, held it gently. His skin felt like tissue paper, fragile enough to tear. 누구세요? He whispered. Who are you? 제 이름은 마야예요. 음식 가져왔어요. 드실래요? My name is Maya. I brought food. Will you eat? Tears spilled down the old man's face, cutting tracks through papery skin. He nodded. Just once. But it was enough. Mrs. Song made a sound half sob, half laugh. The nurses stared. The doctor's mouth hung open. Maya squeezed the old man's hand. I'm going to get you some food. 잠깐만요. Just wait. She stood, moved to the bags, started unpacking containers. The nurses rushed forward to help, but Maya waved them back. This felt personal now, intimate in ways that had nothing to do with medicine. She brought the container of japchae to the bedside. The old man watched her with something like wonder, like she was a miracle instead of just a broke delivery driver who happened to speak Korean. 작은 거 먹어봐요, Maya said softly. Try a small bite. She lifted the chopsticks, gathered a modest portion, brought it to his lips. He ate, slowly, carefully, his eyes never leaving her face. The tension in the room shifted. The monitors beeped steadier rhythms. Color just a hint returned to the old man's face. Maya fed him 3 more bites before he gently pushed her hand away. 고맙습니다, he whispered. Thank you. 천만에요. You're welcome. My Korean. His voice switched to English, heavily accented but clear. You speak it beautifully. Where did you learn? College boyfriend. His family was from Seoul. I studied with him for 2 years. And he let you go? The old man's eyes sharpened. Fool. Maya smiled despite herself. It was mutual. Life got complicated. Life is always complicated. That's no excuse for losing treasure. He studied her with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. What's your name? Your full name? Maya Brooks. Maya Brooks, who delivers food and speaks Korean and looks at a dying old man like he's worth saving. His fingers tightened on hers. You have a good heart. I can see it. Feel it. My son, he needs to meet you. Warning bells rang in Maya's head. I'm just the delivery driver. Nothing is just anything. The old man's breathing grew labored. Mrs. Song, get my phone. I need to call Junwoo. Mr. Kang, it's nearly 4 a.m. in Singapore, Mrs. Song protested gently. I don't care if it's the middle of his meeting with the devil himself. I need to speak to my son. Now. Mrs. Song hesitated, then moved to comply. Maya tried to extract her hand, but the old man's grip was surprisingly strong. Don't go, he said. Please. 조금만 더. Stay a little longer. So Maya stayed, held the hand of a dying stranger, listened as Mrs. Song dialed, as the phone rang, as a voice answered sharp and irritated, and painfully awake for 4 a.m. 아버지, What's wrong? Did something happen? Even through the phone speaker, the voice carried authority, command, the particular weight of someone used to being obeyed. Junwoo, stop whatever you're doing. Come home. I told you, the Singapore deal closes tomorrow. I can't just… There's a woman here. She speaks Korean. She fed me. Made me want to live long enough to see tomorrow. The old man looked at Maya with something like mischief in his dying eyes. Her name is Maya Brooks. I want you to find everything about her. Everything. And when you come home, you bring her with you. Silence on the other end of the line. Long enough that Maya wondered if the call had dropped. Then, Abaji, what are you talking about? Who is this woman? The delivery driver who saved my life tonight. The old man smiled. Or maybe the woman who's going to save yours. I haven't decided yet. You're not making sense. Put Mrs. Song on. I'm making perfect sense. You've been alone too long, Junwoo. Building walls. Forgetting what it means to connect to someone real. This woman, she looked at me like I mattered. When's the last time anyone looked at you like that? Maya's throat went tight. This old man didn't know her. Didn't know that she was drowning in debt. That she worked 80-hour weeks just to keep her head above water. That the last time someone had looked at her like she mattered, they'd left anyway. Find her, the old man said again. Learn everything. And when you meet her, you thank her. For giving an old man one more reason to see sunrise. The call ended. Maya finally pulled her hand free, stood up, backed away from the bed. I should go. The food's here. You're eating. That's good. How much do I owe you? Mrs. Song asked, already reaching for her purse. The order was $47.30. Mrs. Song pulled out a stack of bills, counted out $300. For the food, for staying, for giving him peace. Maya stared at the money. More than she made in 2 days of deliveries. Enough to buy her mother's medication and maybe splurge on groceries that weren't ramen. That's too much. It's not enough. Mrs. Song pressed the bills into Maya's hand. But it's what I have on me. Thank you, Maya Brooks. You gave us a gift tonight. Maya took the money, folded it carefully, looked one more time at the old man in the bed, who watched her with eyes that held too much knowing. Charisoyo haraboji, she said softly. Stay well, grandfather. Dopayo, Maya. See you again, Maya. It should have sounded like a polite goodbye. Instead, it sounded like a promise, or a threat. Maya left the penthouse, rode the elevator down 42 floors, walked to her car, and sat in the driver's seat for 10 full minutes, before her hands stopped shaking. She'd just had a normal delivery, fed an old man, spoke Korean, got a generous tip. That was all. Except the way he'd looked at her. The way he'd called his son at 4 a.m. in Singapore and ordered him to find everything about her. The way Mrs. Song had pressed that money into her hands like payment for services far beyond food delivery. Maya started her car, drove home, climbed the stairs to the apartment she shared with her mother, collapsed into bed, still wearing her delivery uniform, and told herself that tomorrow, everything would go back to normal. She was wrong. Character introductions and inciting incident. Maya Brooks had delivered food to every corner of Los Angeles. Mansions in the hills, sketchy motels downtown, offices at 2 a.m. where corporate vampires worked on spreadsheets and cocaine. She knew how to read buildings, how to sense when a delivery would be easy, cash, or potential danger. The black SUV that pulled up outside her apartment at 7 a.m. did not read as easy cash. 3 men emerged. Expensive suits, sunglasses that cost more than her rent. The kind of synchronized movement that spoke of military training or something darker. They didn't knock, just stood at her door like monuments to inevitability. Maya peered through the peephole, heart hammering. The lead man held up a business card. Even through the distorted fisheye lens, she could read it. Junwoo Kangkang Enterprises. Beneath that, in smaller text, by appointment only. Miss Brooks, the man called through the door. His voice was polite, professional, terrifying in its calm. Mr. Kang would like to speak with you. We're here to escort you to his office. I'm not interested. Mr. Kang anticipated you might say that. The man pulled out an envelope, slid it under her door. He asked me to give you this. Maya picked up the envelope with shaking hands, opened it. Inside, a check for $10,000. Her vision blurred. $10,000. That was 6 months of her mother's medication, a semester of community college, a safety net she hadn't had since her father died. What does he want? She asked through the door. 30 minutes of your time, a conversation about his father. And possibly, the man paused, an opportunity that could change your life. That sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. Mr. Kang doesn't make threats, Miss Brooks. He makes offers. Whether you accept them is entirely your choice. Maya looked at the check. At her mother's pill bottles on the kitchen counter, expensive little soldiers in an unwinnable war. At her own reflection in the hallway, mirror exhausted, scared, 24 years old and already feeling like she'd lived a lifetime. If I come with you, do I get to leave whenever I want? Yes. Do I get to keep this check even if I say no to whatever he's offering? Yes. The check is a thank you for what you did last night. Nothing more. Maya opened the door. The men didn't smile, didn't threaten, just gestured to the SUV with the kind of courtesy that made their underlying danger even more apparent. The drive to Kang Enterprises took 20 minutes. The building was glass and steel, 30 floors of money and power wrapped in architectural intimidation. They entered through a private elevator that required a key card and a thumbprint scan. The penthouse office made the apartment from last night look modest. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A desk that looked carved from a single piece of black marble. Art that belonged in museums. Everything precise, controlled, expensive. And behind the desk, Junwoo Kang, 36 years old. 6 feet 2 inches of controlled menace wrapped in a suit that probably cost as much as Maya's car. Black hair swept back with precision. Jawline sharp enough to draw blood. Eyes that were dark and assessing and completely unreadable. He looked like violence dressed as civilization, like a tiger wearing human skin. When he stood, the movement was fluid, predatory. He came around the desk, and Maya's instincts screamed danger even as her brain registered that he was beautiful in the way sharp things are beautiful. Admirable from a distance, fatal up close. Miss Brooks. His English was perfect, accent barely present. Thank you for coming. Your guys didn't give me much choice. They gave you a check and an invitation. That's more choice than most people get. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Please, sit. Maya sat. The chair was leather, expensive, designed to make visitors feel small. Junwoo returned to his side of the desk, and the power dynamic became clear. Him elevated, her diminished. Space between them, a demilitarized zone. My father called me at 4 a.m, Junwoo said, fingers steepled. Told me he'd eaten for the first time in 2 days. That a delivery driver spoke to him in Korean. Made him want to live long enough to see morning. His eyes locked onto hers. He also told me to find everything about you. So I did. Ice water in her veins. That's an invasion of privacy. It's due diligence. Maya Brooks, 24 years old, born in Inglewood, pre-med at UCLA until your father died 18 months ago, and medical bills consumed your college fund. You work for 3 different delivery services, average 80 hours a week, and barely keep your head above water. He pulled out a file. Thick. Your mother has Parkinson's. Medications cost approximately $1,700 a month. You're 2 payments behind on her prescriptions, 3 months behind on rent. Your car needs new tires. And you're 1 major crisis away from complete financial collapse. Maya wanted to scream, to throw something, to storm out. But she was also terrified because everything he'd said was true, and the casual way he'd violated her privacy spoke to resources she couldn't comprehend. What do you want from me? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. My father is dying. You already know this. What you don't know is that he's been refusing treatment, refusing food, refusing to engage with life because he believes he's already dead. Junwoo leaned forward. Last night you changed that. He ate. He laughed. He wanted to see tomorrow. That's worth more to me than you can possibly understand. So the check is payment for talking to your dad? The check is gratitude. What I'm about to offer you is business. Junwoo opened a drawer, pulled out a contract, slid it across the desk. I want to hire you, full-time, to care for my father in his final weeks, to speak with him in Korean, to give him peace. In exchange, I'll pay off all your debt, your mother's medications, your rent, everything, plus a salary of $10,000 a month for however long he lives. Maya stared at the contract, at numbers that felt fictional. This is insane. This is desperation dressed as generosity. My father is the only family I have, the only person who looks at me and sees something other than a weapon or a resource. If you can give him peace in his final days. Junwoo's mask slipped slightly, revealing something raw underneath. I'll give you anything you need. I'm not a nurse. I'm not trained for hospice care. We have nurses, doctors, a full medical team. What we don't have is someone who can speak to him, connect with him, make him feel human instead of just dying. Junwoo stood, came around the desk again. This time, he knelt slightly, bringing himself to her eye level. Please, I'm asking. The word please sounded foreign in his mouth, like he wasn't used to saying it. Maya looked at the contract. At her future rewritten in legal language and guaranteed payments. At the man kneeling beside her chair, dangerous and desperate and human in ways that contradicted his tiger reputation. If I say yes, do I live at your penthouse? You'd have your own suite. Private, secure, access to whatever you need. And when your father... She couldn't finish the sentence. When he dies, the contract ends. You'll have enough money to go back to school, to build whatever life you want, no strings, no obligations. It was too good, too perfect. Life didn't work like this. Random delivery drivers didn't get life-changing offers from billionaire mafia bosses. Except she'd looked into the old man's eyes last night, seen fear and loneliness that money couldn't fix, and something in her, the part that had wanted to be a doctor, that had chosen medicine because she believed in healing, that part couldn't walk away. I need to think about it. You have until 5 p.m. today. After that, the offer expires. Junwoo stood, extended his hand. Whatever you decide, thank you for what you did last night. My father hasn't smiled in weeks. You gave him that gift. Maya stood, took his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and slightly too long. When she pulled away, her skin still felt the ghost of his touch. I'll call you by 5. The SUV drove her home. Maya sat in her apartment, contract spread on the kitchen table, and tried to think rationally. This was crazy. Moving in with strangers, caring for a dying man she didn't know, entering the world of someone who had the resources to investigate her entire life in a few hours. But it was also salvation. Real, tangible salvation. Not just for her, but for her mother. For the future she'd thought was dead. Her mother emerged from the bedroom at noon, movement careful because her medication hadn't kicked in yet. She saw the contract, the check, Maya's face. Baby, what happened? Maya told her everything. The delivery, the old man, the son, the offer. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then, what does your gut say? That I'm either being handed a miracle or walking into a nightmare. Which feels more true? Maya closed her eyes, remembered the old man's desperate Korean. The way Junwoo had said please like it cost him something. The feeling of being needed for something beyond just delivering food. Miracle, maybe. Her mother squeezed her hand. Then go. Take the risk. You've been surviving so long you've forgotten how to live. Maybe this is how you remember. At 4:47 p.m., Maya called the number on the business card. Junwoo answered on the first ring. Miss Brooks, I accept. On one condition. Name it. My mother gets the same medical coverage. Full. Whatever she needs. No limits. Done. When can you start? Tonight? A car will be there in 2 hours. Maya packed a bag, kissed her mother goodbye, rode to the penthouse in the same black SUV, and tried to convince herself she'd made the right choice. Junwoo met her at the door, still in the expensive suit, still radiating that particular quality of controlled danger. Welcome, he said, and something in his voice made it sound less like a greeting and more like a warning. The penthouse had 13 rooms. Maya counted them her first night because she couldn't sleep, because the bed was too soft and the silence too complete, and her brain kept screaming that she'd made a terrible mistake. Her suite occupied the east wing bedroom, private bath, sitting area with a view that made her dizzy. Everything white, marble, and soft grays, expensive in that particular way that made you afraid to touch anything. Mrs. Song had left a note on the nightstand. Mr. Kang's father is in the west wing. He sleeps lightly. If you hear him call out during the night, don't hesitate to go to him. At 2:47 a.m., Maya heard it. Korean words, desperate and afraid, cutting through the expensive silence. She threw on a robe, padded barefoot down the hallway, past walls decorated with art she didn't understand, and photographs. She wanted to study images of a younger Junwoo, of the old man healthy and powerful, of a family that money had preserved in silver frames but couldn't save in reality. The old man's room glowed with soft blue light from medical monitors. He lay tangled in sheets, face twisted with nightmare, speaking rapidly in Korean. Haraboji, Maya said softly, kneeling beside the bed. Grandfather, 괜찮아요. 악몽이에요. It's okay. It's just a nightmare. His eyes flew open, wild at first, then focusing on her face. Recognition dawned, followed by relief so profound it hurt to witness. Maya, he whispered. 당신이 정말 여기 있어요? You're really here? 네, 정말 여기 있어요. Yes, I'm really here. His hand found hers, gripping with surprising strength. I thought I dreamed you. I thought my dying brain had invented an angel who spoke my language. Not an angel. Just a broke delivery driver with student loans. He laughed a dry, papery sound. Your Korean is beautiful. Where did you really learn it? The truth this time. Maya settled into the chair beside his bed, still holding his hand. His name was David. We met freshman year at UCLA. He was chemical engineering. I was pre-med. We were study partners before we were anything else. The old man's eyes were sharp despite the morphine haze. You loved him. I thought I did. He taught me Korean because I wanted to meet his family properly. Spent 2 years learning not just the language, but the culture, the food, the customs, how to bow correctly, which honorifics to use with his grandmother. Maya's throat tightened. His family never thought I was good enough. Black girl from Inglewood dating their perfect son. They made it clear every Sunday dinner I attended. And David? Eventually stopped defending me. Stopped trying. His grandmother got sick, and his family gave him an ultimatum. Her or me. He chose her. Maya looked at their joined hands. Can't even be mad about it. Family matters. I understand that now more than I did then. Family matters, the old man agreed. But so does courage. A man who can't defend the woman he loves to his family isn't worthy of her love. He squeezed her hand. Their loss became my son's fortune. Fate works in mysterious ways. Your son hired me to care for you, not to. My son is lonely. Has been since his mother died 7 years ago. Builds walls instead of bridges. Works instead of lives. He needs someone who sees past the tiger to the man underneath. The old man's eyes gleamed with something that might have been mischief. You're going to save him, Maya Brooks. Whether either of you wants it or not. I'm here to help you, not matchmake. Can't you do both? He grinned, weak but genuine. Old men are allowed to meddle. It's in the job description. Despite herself, Maya smiled. Fine. Meddle away. But don't be disappointed when nothing happens. We'll see. He shifted carefully, wincing. Will you stay? Until I fall asleep again? The nightmares are worse when I'm alone. So Maya stayed. Held his hand. Spoke to him in soft Korean about nothing important, the weather, the view from her window, memories of her father who'd died too young from a heart that just gave out one Thursday morning. The old man Dae-jung. He insisted she call him Dae-jung, not Mr. Kang, listened with the kind of attention that made her feel heard. Really heard. For the first time in months, when his breathing finally evened into sleep, Maya tried to extract her hand. His grip tightened reflexively. Don't go, he murmured without opening his eyes. I'm just going back to bed. Stay, please. The chair reclines. You can sleep here. I don't want to wake up alone again. So Maya stayed, curled in the reclining chair, dozed fitfully while holding the hand of a dying man who reminded her why she'd wanted to become a doctor in the first place, not for the prestige or the money, but for moments like this, being present, bearing witness, making someone's suffering slightly less lonely. She woke to Junwoo Kang standing in the doorway. Dawn light filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows, painting him in gold and shadow. He'd changed from the suit, now wore black slacks and a white shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars that spoke of violence survived. He looked at Maya in the chair, at his sleeping father, at their joined hands. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite softness, but maybe the prelude to it. You stayed all night, he said quietly. He had nightmares. Asked me not to leave. Junwoo moved into the room with that predator grace. Checked his father's vitals on the monitors with practiced efficiency that suggested he'd done this many times before. When he was satisfied, he turned to Maya. Come, let him rest. I'll have breakfast brought to your room. I can eat in the kitchen. You don't need to. You stayed with my father when you could have been sleeping in your very expensive bed. The least I can do is feed you properly. His tone left no room for argument. Maya gently extracted her hand from Dae-jung's. Followed Junwoo down hallways that felt less intimidating in daylight. He led her not to her room, but to a kitchen that was all gleaming steel and black granite. He moved through it with surprising familiarity, pulling eggs from an enormous refrigerator, butter, vegetables, rice. Started cooking with the same precision he probably applied to business deals and whatever darker things a man like him did. "You cook?" Maya couldn't hide her surprise. "My mother taught me before she died. Said a man who can't feed himself is at the mercy of others." He cracked eggs one-handed into a bowl. She was right about many things. Maya perched on a bar stool, watching him work. The domesticity felt surreal. This was the same man who'd investigated her entire life in hours, who moved through the world trailing menace like cologne. "Tell me about her." "Your mother." Junwoo's hands paused briefly. "Why?" "Because your father talks about her sometimes when he's half asleep. Says she had a laugh that could light up rooms. That she was the only person who could make you smile as a child." Something crossed Junwoo's face, grief, maybe, or the ghost of a younger self. "Her name was Mi-sun. She was a pianist, classical, played concerts all over the world before she met my father. He started whisking eggs with controlled violence. She died when I was 29, brain aneurysm. One moment she was playing Chopin in our living room. The next, she was gone. No warning, no goodbye. I'm sorry. Death doesn't care about sorry. It takes what it wants when it wants it." He poured eggs into a hot pan, and they sizzled like punctuation. "My father changed after she died, became smaller, quieter. Started talking about retirement, about stepping away from the business. I took over operations to give him space to grieve." Junwoo's jaw tightened. Didn't realize he'd never stop grieving, that he'd just wait patiently for his turn to follow her. The eggs transformed into perfect giranmari Korean rolled omelet with vegetables tucked inside like secrets. Junwoo plated it with rice, kimchi, and banchan that must have been prepared by someone earlier. Set it in front of Maya like an offering. "Eat." She took a bite. The flavors exploded, savory, slightly sweet, perfectly seasoned. "This is incredible. My mother's recipe." She said food made with care is how we show love when words aren't enough. He leaned against the counter, watching her eat with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable. "Thank you for staying with him last night, for making him feel less alone. He's easy to care about, tells terrible jokes and asks invasive questions about my love life." Junwoo's mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but close. "That sounds like him." Before the cancer, he ran the company with an iron fist. Everyone terrified of disappointing him, but at home he was different, gentle, funny. Made my mother laugh until she cried. "You miss that version of him." "I miss having a father who wasn't dying, who could still see me as a son, instead of just the man who'll carry on his legacy." Junwoo looked away. "He asked me last month if I was proud of what I've built, if the empire was worth the cost." "What did you say?" "Nothing. Because I didn't have an answer." He met her eyes. "My father built this company from nothing. Came to America with $200 and a dream. Worked 18-hour days. Made sacrifices I can't even imagine. And he did it all so I could have opportunities he never had." Junwoo's voice went rough. "Now he's dying, thinking it was all for nothing, that I traded my humanity for profit margins." Maya set down her chopsticks. "Have you?" "I don't know anymore. 7 years of running this company. 7 years of making decisions that require choosing between bad and worse, between protecting our interests and destroying our competitors. I've become very good at violence dressed as business." He looked at his hands like they belonged to someone else. "My father sees it. Hates what I've become. I can see it in his eyes every time he looks at me. That's not what I see when he talks about you." Junwoo's head snapped up. "What do you see?" "Pride, worry, love. He's scared you're alone, that you've built walls so high no one can reach you anymore. But he's proud of your strength, your loyalty, the way you came home from Singapore because he asked." Maya held his gaze. "He doesn't hate what you've become. He's afraid you've forgotten how to be more than just the company." Silence stretched between them. Junwoo's eyes held hers with an intensity that made her pulse quicken, made her hyper-aware of being alone with him in this huge kitchen, of the way morning light caught the sharp planes of his face. "You're perceptive," he said finally. "I'm observant, different skill, dangerous either way." But he said it like a compliment. Mrs. Song appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. "Mr. Kang, your 9 a.m. is waiting in the conference room." The mask slid back into place. Junwoo straightened, and the dangerous businessman returned. "Thank you for breakfast conversation, Miss Brooks. I trust you'll find everything you need." Mrs. Song will help you settle in." He left without looking back. Maya sat alone in the kitchen, her breakfast half finished, trying to process the glimpse she'd just gotten of the human beneath the tiger skin. The days developed a rhythm. Maya woke early, checked on Dae-jung, helped him with breakfast while the nurses handled medical care. They'd talk about everything and nothing. His childhood in Busan, her dreams of becoming a doctor, the way grief carved holes in people that never quite healed. Dae-jung's English was excellent when he wanted it to be, but he preferred Korean with Maya. Said it felt more honest. That English was the language of business and formality, but Korean was the language of heart. He taught her new words, corrected her pronunciation with gentle patience, told her stories about Junwoo as a child, serious, intense, carrying the weight of expectations that would have crushed most kids. "He was 8 when he told me he'd take care of me when I got old," Dae-jung said one afternoon, his voice dreamy with morphine and memory. 8 years old and already trying to carry the world. His mother laughed, said he'd inherited my stubbornness and her sense of responsibility. Dangerous combination. "What did you say?" "That he should focus on being a child, that he had time to be responsible later." Dae-jung's face clouded. "I was wrong. Time moves faster than we think. He had to grow up at 20 when his older brother died. Car accident, drunk driver. One phone call and suddenly Junwoo was the heir, the one who'd inherit everything, the one who carried all our hopes." Maya's chest tightened. He had a brother? Kang Min-jae, 5 years older. Everything Junwoo wasn't easygoing, charming, beloved by everyone. Min-jae was supposed to take over the company. Junwoo was supposed to be free to choose his own path. Dae-jung's hand trembled. Then Min-jae died, and Junwoo's freedom died with him. He stepped into his brother's shadow and never stepped out. Does he resent it? The responsibility? He resents that he never got to choose, that his entire life was rewritten by someone else's drunk driving, but he'd never admit it, never complain. Dae-jung looked at her with eyes too knowing. That's why he needs someone who sees past the obligation, who reminds him he's allowed to want things beyond duty. "You're matchmaking again." "I'm dying. Let me have my delusions." But it wasn't just delusion. Maya felt it, the pull toward Junwoo that shouldn't exist. The way her pulse quickened when he entered a room. How she found herself listening for his footsteps, timing her trips to the kitchen to coincide with his rare moments of downtime. He was always polite, always professional. But sometimes she'd catch him watching her with his father, and his expression held something raw. Longing, maybe, or envy that someone could make his father smile when Junwoo's presence seemed to only bring stress. A week into her stay, Maya found Junwoo in his study at midnight. She'd gone looking for a book from the extensive library, hadn't expected to find him awake, surrounded by paperwork and the amber glow of expensive whiskey. "Can't sleep?" he asked without looking up. "Your father's having a good night. Nurse gave him medication that'll keep him out until morning. Figured I'd read." She gestured to the bookshelves. "May I?" "Take whatever you want." Maya browsed the shelves, mostly business books, economics texts, books on strategy that felt ominous in their implications. But one section held poetry. Korean poets Kim So-wool, Han Young-un, Yoon Dong-ju. She pulled down a collection, and Junwoo's head finally lifted. "You read Korean poetry?" David introduced me. I didn't understand most of it at first. But there's something beautiful about struggling with meaning. Working for comprehension. Junwoo set down his pen, stood, crossed to where she stood with the book. He was close enough that she could smell whiskey and expensive cologne, and something underneath that was just him. My mother loved that collection. Used to read it to me when I was young. Before I understood the words, I understood the music of them. His hand reached past her, pulled down a different volume. But this was Min-jae's favorite. Said the poet understood loneliness better than anyone alive. Their hands brushed as he gave her the book. Neither pulled away immediately. "Maya." Her name sounded different in his mouth. Softer. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why are you really here? Not the money, I know the money matters. But you could have asked for payment without moving in. Without making yourself available to my father 24 hours a day." His eyes searched hers. "What are you running from?" The question landed like a blow. "What makes you think I'm running?" "Because I recognize it. The way you throw yourself into caring for him. How you avoid talking about your own life, your own dreams. You're hiding in my father's final days like they're a shelter instead of a job." Maya's breath caught. "That's not..." You had a future. Doctor, healer, someone who saved lives instead of just bearing witness to death. Junwoo's voice gentled. What happened that made you stop believing you deserved that future? Tears burned behind her eyes. My father died 18 months ago. Heart attack. I was pre-med, but I was home for winter break. I was in the next room when it happened. Heard him call out, ran to help. Her voice cracked. I did CPR for 20 minutes while waiting for the ambulance. Did everything right. Everything by the book. And it didn't matter. He died anyway. Died while I was trying to save him. Junwoo's hand came up slowly, giving her time to move away, and cupped her face. His palm was warm against her cheek. That wasn't your fault. I know that. Logically. But emotionally. Maya closed her eyes. I can't get past the feeling that I failed. That all my studying, all my preparation meant nothing, when it actually mattered. So I dropped out, started delivering food, became someone whose failure wouldn't cost lives. You didn't fail. Death doesn't mean failure. It means you're human, says the man who's built an empire on never failing. Junwoo's thumb traced her cheekbone. I fail every day. Every decision I make costs something. Hurts someone. I've just gotten very good at pretending the weight doesn't crush me. He leaned closer. You make my father happy. You've given him peace in his final days. That's the opposite of failure. Maya opened her eyes, found herself inches from Junwoo's face, close enough to see the tiny scar above his eyebrow, the way his pupils dilated, the pulse hammering in his throat that said he wasn't as controlled as he pretended. This is a bad idea, she whispered. Terrible idea, he agreed. Neither moved away. The kiss happened in the space between intention and action. Junwoo's mouth found hers gentle at first, almost questioning. Maya answered by rising on her toes, hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. He groaned against her lips. One hand slid into her hair, the other wrapped around her waist, and the gentleness evaporated. He kissed her like drowning, like she was air, like he'd been holding himself back for days and his control had finally shattered. Maya kissed him back with equal desperation, tasted whiskey and want and something that felt dangerously close to need. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Junwoo's forehead dropped to hers. We can't do this, he said. I know. You work for me. You're here for my father. This crosses every line. I know. But God help me. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that first night. The way you knelt beside his bed, spoke to him like he mattered, like his fear and pain deserved gentleness. Junwoo's hands tightened on her waist. You make me remember what it feels like to want something beyond duty and obligation. Maya's hand slid up his chest, feeling the rapid hammer of his heart. What do you want? You. This. A future that doesn't involve just work and responsibility, and waiting for the next crisis. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. But I can't offer you that. Can't promise you anything beyond this moment. My life is complicated and dangerous and built on foundations that would swallow someone like you whole. Someone like me? Good. Pure. Untouched by the violence that made me. Maya laughed, bitter and real. I'm not pure. I'm broke and desperate and hiding from my own failures. I'm here because your money saved me. That's not exactly noble. You're here because you have a good heart, because you saw an old man dying alone and decided he deserved kindness even when no one was watching. That's everything. The moment stretched between them, possibility and impossibility warring in the space of shared breath. Then Junwoo's phone buzzed. The spell broke. He stepped back, pulled the phone from his pocket, scanned the message. His face went cold, not angry. Worse, the absolute stillness of someone seeing a threat materialize. What's wrong? Nothing you need to worry about. Business complication. But his voice had changed, become the tiger instead of the man. Junwoo, you should get some sleep. My father will want you rested tomorrow. He was already moving to his desk, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Korean too fast for Maya to catch. She left the study holding the poetry book, returned to her room, lay in bed touching her lips and wondering if she'd just made the best or worst decision of her life. Down the hall, Junwoo ended his call and pulled up security footage, rewound to earlier that evening, watched the black sedan that had parked across the street from the building for 3 hours before driving away. The license plate was registered to a shell company, the kind of shell company his competitors used when they wanted to send a message without signing their names. Someone was watching, learning patterns, gathering intelligence, and Maya had just become a pattern, a vulnerability, a soft target in his heavily fortified life. Junwoo pulled up his security detail roster, doubled the guards, set new protocols. Then he sat in the dark, remembering the taste of her mouth, and accepted that he'd just painted a target on the one person who'd made him feel human in years. The protection had begun. Whether Maya knew it or not. Crisis. Confrontation. Maya noticed the watchers first. She'd spent enough time delivering food to every corner of Los Angeles to develop an instinct for when something was wrong. The same black sedan parked across the street 3 days in a row. Different drivers, but always watching, always waiting. Junwoo's security had tightened too. More guards. Different routes when she left the building for her weekly check-in with her mother. Men in suits who appeared whenever she stepped outside the penthouse. When she asked Mrs. Song about it, the woman's face went carefully neutral. Just standard security protocols. Standard for what? For when Mr. Kang has enemies paying attention. It was Friday afternoon when everything changed. Maya was sitting with Dae-jung, reading him poetry in Korean, when Junwoo entered the room with 3 men she didn't recognize. His face was set in that particular expression that meant bad news delivered in expensive suits. "Abaji," he said. "Father, we need to move you to a more secure location." Dae-jung looked up from the pillows, weak but alert. "Why?" "The Lee family is making moves. They know you're vulnerable. They think now is the time to strike." Maya's Korean was good enough to catch the undertones. This wasn't business competition. This was something darker. "Let them come," Dae-jung said tiredly. "I'm dying anyway. What can they take that cancer hasn't already claimed? They can make your final days painful. They can use you to get to me, to destabilize everything we've built." Junwoo's jaw was granite. "I won't let that happen. Junwoo, this isn't negotiable. We move in 2 hours. He finally looked at Maya. "That includes you. Pack whatever you need. I'm not family. You're with him every day. That makes you a target by association." Junwoo's voice went hard. "The Lee family doesn't distinguish between employees and loved ones. They'll hurt anyone to send a message." Fear crawled up Maya's spine. "What kind of message?" Junwoo's eyes held hers. "The kind written in blood." The safe house was 90 minutes outside LA, a fortress disguised as a luxury estate. High walls, armed guards, security systems that probably cost more than Maya's entire education would have. They moved Dae-jung first, a medical transport that looked civilian but was armored enough to survive small arms fire. The nurses came next. Then Maya, sandwiched in an SUV between 2 bodyguards who didn't speak. Junwoo rode separately, leading the convoy in a car with tinted windows so dark they looked like rolling night. The estate sprawled across 10 acres of manicured grounds. Maya's room here was smaller than the penthouse suite, but still luxurious. She barely noticed, just dropped her bag and went looking for Dae-jung. She found him in a room that had been converted into a hospital suite. All the medical equipment transferred, nurses hovering, machines beeping their mechanical concern. He looked smaller, frailer. The move had cost him energy he didn't have. "Harabaji," Maya said softly, taking his hand. "How are you feeling?" "Like I'm dying in a different building. Progress." But he squeezed her fingers weakly. "Don't be scared. Junwoo won't let anything happen to you." "I'm not scared for me." "Liar." His eyes gleamed. "But a sweet liar. That's why my son likes you. Your son hired me. My son watches you like you're the first sunrise after a long darkness. Hired you is how it started, not how it'll end." Mrs. Song appeared. "Mr. Kang, you have a call. Private line." Junwoo entered like a thundercloud. Took the phone Mrs. Song offered. His face went absolutely still as he listened. Maya watched his knuckles go white around the phone, watched his jaw clench hard enough to crack teeth. "No," he said finally. "That's not acceptable." More listening. His eyes flicked to Maya. Something in that glance made her stomach drop. "I'll consider your offer. 24 hours. He ended the call, looked at his father. "They want to negotiate." "What do they want?" Dae-jung asked. "Peace. Claims they're willing to let you die naturally. No interference. No retaliation. All territories remain stable. In exchange for?" Junwoo's eyes cut to Maya again. "Information. They want to know who the woman is. Why you've been so protective. They think she's leverage. Ice water in Maya's veins. They want me? They want to understand what you mean to this family. Whether you're worth threatening." Junwoo's voice went cold. "The answer is no. You're not leverage because you don't mean anything beyond employment. I'll make that clear." The words should have been reassuring. Instead, they felt like rejection, like being reduced to nothing. Dae-jung made a disgusted sound. "Idiot, son. Tell them the truth." "Which is that she matters, that you care about her, that they'd be signing their death warrants if they touched her." Dae-jung coughed weakly. "Stop pretending you don't feel what you feel. It's exhausting to watch." "Abaji, this isn't the time." "When is the time? When I'm dead? When you've scared her away with your walls and protocol?" Dae-jung looked at Maya. "Forgive him. He's forgotten how to be human. Someone needs to remind him." The room fell silent except for the beep of monitors. Junwoo stood rigid. A man caught between business and something that looked dangerously like emotion. "Everyone out," he said finally. "I need to speak with Miss Brooks. Alone." The nurses left. Mrs. Song ushered them out with practiced efficiency. Even Dae-jung's medical team retreated, leaving just the three of them. "You too, Abaji." "I'm dying. I'll stay where I am." "Then pretend to sleep." Dae-jung closed his eyes with a smile that said he'd hear every word. Junwoo turned to Maya. "This is my fault. I should have kept more distance. Should have made it clear you were just an employee. Now they see you as something more." "Am I? Something more?" His face could have been carved from stone. "That doesn't matter. What matters is keeping you safe." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I can give." He moved closer, and Maya saw the conflict in his eyes. "Want war warring with duty. If I admit what you've become to me, I paint a target on your back. Every enemy I have will use you to get to me. Every rival will see you as a weakness to exploit. So you'll lie. Pretend I mean nothing. I'll do whatever keeps you breathing." His hands came up to frame her face, gentle despite the violence in his voice. "Even if it means watching you hate me for it." Maya's throat tightened. "I don't hate you. You should. I've dragged you into a world you didn't choose. Put you in danger because I was selfish enough to want you near my father. Near me." His forehead dropped to hers. "I'm sorry, Junwoo." The explosion cut off her words. The windows blew inward in a shower of glass and flame. Junwoo's body slammed into Maya's, driving her to the ground, his weight crushing and protective. She felt him jerk, heard his grunt of pain. Gunfire erupted. The staccato rhythm of automatic weapons, shouting in Korean and English. Alarms shrieking. Junwoo rolled off her, and Maya saw blood spreading across his white shirt. His shoulder. He'd taken shrapnel meant for her. "Stay down," he gritted out, pulled a gun from somewhere, returned fire through the shattered window with cold precision. Maya crawled to Dae-jung. The old man was conscious, eyes wide with fear but aware. The medical equipment had been knocked over, but he was breathing. Alive. "It's okay," Maya said in Korean, her voice shaking. "괜찮아요. You're okay." More gunfire. Men in tactical gear stormed the room. For one horrible second, Maya thought they were enemies. Then she saw Junwoo's security chief leading them. "Sir, we need to move you. Now." "My father first." "Sir, you're bleeding." "My father first." Junwoo's voice could have shattered steel. They moved Dae-jung quickly. Portable gurney, oxygen mask, 2 guards flanking. The old man's eyes found Maya's as they wheeled him past. "Stay with Junwoo," his expression said. "Don't leave my son." Then he was gone, and Maya was alone with Junwoo in a room that smelled like cordite and fear. He swayed on his feet, the blood loss catching up. Maya moved to him, her nursing instincts kicking in. "Let me see." "I'm fine. You're bleeding. Let me see." He allowed her to pull his jacket off, to examine the wound. Shrapnel had torn through his shoulder, painful, but not lethal. She grabbed a pillowcase, ripped it, used it to pack the wound with pressure. "We need to get you to a hospital." "No hospitals. Too exposed." His hand covered hers on the makeshift bandage. "I'm sorry. Stop apologizing and tell me what the hell just happened." The Lee family sent a message. They're not interested in negotiation. They're interested in elimination. Junwoo's jaw clenched. This was just the opening move. How did they know we were here? Someone talked. Someone in my organization sold us out. His eyes went cold, calculating. Which means I can't trust anyone except the people in this room. Your father needs medical care. Real medical care. I know. But moving him again so soon could kill him faster than the Lee family would. Junwoo looked at the devastation around them. We're trapped. Can't go back to LA. Can't stay here. Every safe house I have is potentially compromised. Maya's mind raced. My mother's house. What? My mother's house. In Inglewood. Nobody knows about it except me. It's not fancy. Not secure by your standards. But it's invisible. Just another house in a working-class neighborhood. They'd never think to look there. Junwoo stared at her. You'd bring this danger to your mother's home? She's in a care facility in San Diego. Moved there last week with the money you've been paying me. The house is empty. Paid up on rent. Completely off anyone's radar. It was insane. Desperate. Exactly the kind of move no one would anticipate. Junwoo's mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. You're either brilliant or crazy. Can't I be both? This time, he did smile. Real and genuine and beautiful. Yes, you can be both. They moved at midnight. Small convoy, 3 cars that looked civilian. Dae-jung in the middle vehicle, Junwoo and Maya with him. Security spread across the other 2. The drive to Inglewood felt endless. Every car that passed could be an enemy. Every traffic light a potential ambush point. Junwoo sat across from his father, holding a phone that kept buzzing with updates. His shoulder had been properly bandaged now, but blood had seeped through. He needed medical attention, refused to admit it. Maya sat beside Dae-jung, holding his hand, feeling his pulse flutter weak and irregular. The stress of the attack was killing him faster than the cancer. Almost there, she murmured in Korean. Jogoman ta, just a little more. His eyes opened, cloudy with pain but aware. Thank you. For what? For saving my son. For being the thing worth protecting. For giving him a reason to fight instead of just survive. I didn't do anything. You did everything. Dae-jung's grip tightened. Promise me something. Anything. When I die, and it'll be soon. We both know it. Promise me you won't let Junwoo close himself off again. Promise me you'll fight for him even when he pushes you away. Tears burned behind Maya's eyes. I promise. The house in Inglewood was exactly as Maya remembered. Small, weathered, paint peeling in places. Her childhood home. The place her father died. They carried Dae-jung inside. Set up medical equipment in the living room. The nurses worked with quiet efficiency, transforming the space into a makeshift hospital. Junwoo stood in the center of it all, looking completely out of place in his blood-stained designer shirt, a tiger in a house made for mice. Maya found him an hour later standing in her old bedroom, looking at pictures on the wall, her high school graduation, family photos, her acceptance letter to UCLA that she'd framed like treasure. This is who you were, he said quietly. Before everything fell apart. That girl was naive. Thought hard work and good grades could solve anything. That girl was hopeful. Believed in futures worth fighting for. He turned to face her. I miss that. Not in you. In myself. The version of me that thought the world could be good. Maya moved closer. What happened to him? The Junwoo who believed. He watched his brother die. Took over a company built on moral compromises. Made choices that required sacrificing pieces of his soul. Junwoo's hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Then he met a woman who delivered food and spoke Korean, and reminded him that maybe not everything has to be stained with blood. Junwoo, I'm falling for you, Maya Brooks. Have been since that first night. And it terrifies me because everyone I've ever loved has been hurt by association. His thumb traced her lower lip. You should run. Should take your money and disappear before my life consumes you. What if I don't want to run? Then you're either the bravest or most foolish person I've ever met. I'm both, remember? He kissed her then, desperate and gentle and tasting like promises neither of them could keep. Maya kissed him back, knowing this was dangerous, knowing she was crossing lines that couldn't be uncrossed. From the living room, a monitor started beeping erratically. They ran, found the nurses surrounding Dae-jung, who'd gone pale and still, his breathing shallow, his heart rate crashing. He's coding, one nurse said. Everything after that was chaos and precision. CPR, medications, desperate attempts to pull him back from wherever he'd gone. Maya stood frozen, transported back to another room, another dying man, another failure written in the rhythm of compressions that didn't bring back life. Junwoo's voice cut through her paralysis. Maya, I need you. She looked at him, at his father, at the choice being offered. Talk to him, Junwoo said, voice breaking. Please. In Korean, tell him. Tell him it's okay. That he can let go if he's ready. Maya moved to the bedside, took Dae-jung's hand, leaned close, and spoke softly in the language of his heart. Harabaji, it's Maya. 괜찮아요. You don't have to fight anymore. You've been so strong, so brave, but if you're tired, if you're ready, 가도 돼요. It's okay to go. Daejung's eyes fluttered open one last time. Found hers, found his son's. 잘했어, he whispered. Well done. His last breath was quiet, gentle. The monitors went flat, and the man who'd built an empire passed away in a small house in Inglewood, holding the hand of a stranger who'd become family. Junwoo made a sound half sob, half roar, dropped to his knees beside the bed. Maya wrapped her arms around him, held him while he shattered, while grief finally broke through the walls he'd built. They stayed like that until dawn, two people holding each other in the wreckage, learning that sometimes love means bearing witness to pain, being present when everything falls apart. Outside, the Lee family was still hunting. The war was still raging. But in that moment, in that small house, Junwoo Kang learned what it meant to be human again. And Maya Brooks learned that maybe her calling wasn't just about saving lives. Sometimes it was about helping people die with dignity. And sometimes it was about helping the survivors remember how to live. Climax. The funeral was scheduled for 3 days later. Private ceremony. Just family and close associates. Junwoo hadn't spoken more than 10 words since his father died. Just moved through the logistics of death with mechanical precision. Paperwork. Arrangements. Phone calls that sounded like business transactions instead of grief. Maya tried to reach him. He'd let her. Just stared through her with eyes that had gone empty. She found him the night before the funeral in her childhood bedroom, looking at the photos again. You should sleep, she said. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see him. See the moment he stopped breathing. Wonder if I did enough. If I should have forced treatment, kept him alive longer. He didn't want that. He was ready. I wasn't. Junwoo's voice cracked. I wasn't ready to lose him, to be alone again. Maya crossed the room, took his face in her hands. You're not alone. Everyone I love dies or leaves, Maya. My brother, my mother, my father. It's only a matter of time before. She kissed him to stop the words, poured everything she couldn't say into the press of her mouth against his. He responded with desperate hunger, hands fisting in her hair, backing her against the wall, kissing her like she was oxygen and he was drowning. Maya, he breathed between kisses. I can't lose you too. You won't. You don't know that. The Lee family is still hunting. My life is still dangerous. You should run. Should take your money and build the future you deserve. What if the future I want includes you? Junwoo pulled back, stared at her like she'd spoken in a language he couldn't comprehend. You can't possibly. I love you, you stubborn, impossible man. I've been falling since that first breakfast in your kitchen, since I watched you cook eggs and talk about your mother, since you said please like it cost you something. I don't deserve. Nobody deserves anything. We just get what we fight for. Maya's hands cupped his face. I choose to fight for you. For this. For the possibility that maybe broken people can heal each other. Junwoo's control shattered completely. He kissed her with everything he'd been holding back, need and grief and love wrapped in desperate pressure. Maya met him with equal intensity, her hands sliding under his shirt, feeling scars and muscle and the rapid hammer of his heart. They moved to the bed. Clothes disappeared between kisses. Junwoo's hands mapped her body with reverent hunger, learning every curve, every scar, every place that made her gasp. Are you sure? He asked, poised above her, giving her one last chance to choose safety over this. I've never been more sure of anything. What followed was not gentle. It was two people trying to prove they were alive through the most fundamental connection humans possessed. Junwoo took her with careful ferocity, and Maya met him with equal need, both of them seeking absolution in the space between heartbeats. After, they lay tangled together, sweat slick and breathing hard. Junwoo's hand traced idle patterns on her hip. I meant what I said, Maya murmured. I love you. I love you too. God help us both. He kissed her shoulder. But Maya, my life. It's not going to get easier. The Lee family won't stop. There will be other enemies, other threats. Can you really live with that? Can you live without me? No, not anymore. Then we figure it out, together. The sound of breaking glass downstairs cut off his response. Junwoo moved instantly. Off the bed, grabbing clothes and weapon in one fluid motion. Stay here. Lock the door. Junwoo, please. For once, please just let me protect you. He was gone before she could argue. Maya dressed quickly, heard shouting downstairs. Gunfire. The particular sounds of men fighting. She should have stayed, should have listened. Instead, she grabbed her phone, dialed 911, then crept to the bedroom door. The hallway was dark. She moved quietly, every delivery driver instinct screaming at her to run, to hide, to survive. But Junwoo was down there, in danger, and she'd just promised to fight for him. She reached the stairs, peered down into chaos. Junwoo fought 3 men in the living room. His security team was nowhere either dead or incapacitated. He moved like violence incarnate, every strike precise and brutal. But there were too many. He was still injured from the earlier attack, exhaustion showing in his movements. One man got past his guard, knife flashing toward Junwoo's throat. Maya didn't think. Just grabbed the heavy picture frame from the hallway, her family photo, her father's smile frozen in silver, and threw it with all her strength. It hit the attacker's head with a satisfying crack. He went down. Junwoo's eyes found hers. "I told you to stay. Behind you." He spun, caught the arm swinging a gun toward him, twisted with brutal efficiency. The snap of breaking bone was loud in the sudden silence. The third man ran, disappeared into the night. Junwoo stood in the wreckage of her living room, breathing hard, blood on his knuckles. "You broke my order. I saved your life. You put yourself in danger. Welcome to a partnership. It goes both ways." Despite everything, the violence, the fear, the bodies on her floor, Junwoo laughed, real and genuine and surprised. "You're insane. You love me anyway." "God help me, I do." Sirens approached. Police. Someone had reported the gunfire. Junwoo pulled out his phone, made 3 calls in rapid Korean. Within minutes, his cleanup team arrived. Men who made bodies disappear and evidence evaporate. The police were handled with cash and carefully worded explanations about home invasions. Maya's neighbors were already used to not seeing anything. By dawn, it was like the attack had never happened. Except it had. And Junwoo knew what it meant. "They've found us again," he said quietly. "They'll keep coming, keep trying, until they've sent their message. Then we send one back." Junwoo looked at her. "What? You said your father built this company from nothing. That he fought for every inch. That he taught you strength." Maya took his hand. "So fight. Stop running. Stop hiding. End this. If I go to war with the Lee family, people will die. People are already dying. At least make it mean something." Junwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then, "My father would have liked you. Said you had fire. He also said you needed someone to remind you how to be human. So I'm reminding you you're allowed to fight back. Allowed to protect what's yours. And you're mine? If you want me to be." He kissed her, soft and sure. "More than anything." The funeral was beautiful and brutal. Private ceremony. Junwoo spoke in Korean and English about a man who'd built an empire on honor, who'd loved deeply, who'd taught his son that strength without compassion was just violence. Maya stood beside him. His hand found hers during the eulogy, and he held on like she was gravity keeping him grounded. After, when the handful of mourners had left, Junwoo knelt beside his father's grave. "I'm going to end this," he said in Korean. "The war, the fear, the cycle of violence you tried so hard to escape. And then," he looked at Maya, "then I'm going to try something you always wanted. I'm going to try being happy." Maya knelt beside him, placed flowers on the fresh earth. "Thank you, Harabaji, for seeing me, for bringing us together, for teaching your son that love isn't weakness." The wind picked up, carrying the scent of flowers and rain. It felt like a blessing, resolution, emotional payoff. The war with the Lee family lasted 3 weeks. Junwoo fought with the strategic brilliance he'd learned from his father and the ruthless efficiency his enemies had taught him. He didn't just defend, he dismantled. Every holding, every alliance, every power base the Lee family had built over decades. He was surgical, precise, overwhelming. Maya watched him transform. The businessman became the warlord. The son became the legacy his father had built. But he never stopped being Junwoo, never stopped coming home to her, never stopped choosing her over the empire that demanded everything. The final confrontation happened at the Lee family's flagship restaurant. Symbolic, perfect. Junwoo walked in at noon with his security team and a folder full of evidence. Financial crimes, human trafficking, enough documentation to bury 3 generations of Lee family leadership. The patriarch, old, arrogant, untouchable, stared at the evidence. "You're bluffing. I'm offering you a choice. Disappear quietly. Retire. Let your children rebuild something legitimate. Or I hand this to federal authorities and you spend your final years in prison. You'd destroy us over one old man? No, I'd destroy you for threatening what's mine. Junwoo's eyes went cold. My father, my family, the woman I love. You made it personal when you attacked my home. The patriarch's hands trembled on the papers. Your father would be ashamed. My father is dead because men like you believe power excuses cruelty. That money buys the right to hurt people. Junwoo leaned forward. I'm done being civil with monsters. Take the deal or face the consequences. The Lee family took the deal. Within 48 hours, they'd liquidated assets and disappeared. Their empire crumbled. Junwoo absorbed what was worth keeping and burned the rest. He emerged from the war wealthier, more powerful, and emptier than ever. Until he came home to Maya. She found him 3 nights after the Lee surrender, sitting in the dark of his penthouse office, looking at photos of his father. Hey, she said softly, you okay? I don't know. I won. The threat is gone. Everything my father built is secure, so why does it feel hollow? Maya crossed the room, straddled his lap in the expensive chair, framed his face with her hands. Because power was never the goal, it was just the method. Then what's the goal? This. Us. Building a life that doesn't require war to sustain it. She kissed him gently. Your father didn't build an empire for its own sake. He built it so you could have choices. Freedom. The ability to protect what you love. And what do I love? Tell me. Junwoo's hand settled on her waist. You. This. The future where we don't have to fight anymore. Where I can cook you breakfast and you can finish medical school and we can just be. Is that what you want? More than anything. But Maya, I don't know how to be that man. Don't know how to exist without war and violence defining me. Then we learn together. Make mistakes. Figure out what happiness looks like for 2 people who've lived in survival mode so long we've forgotten there are other ways to exist. Junwoo pulled her closer, buried his face in her neck. I'm scared. Of what? That you'll wake up one day and realize you don't love the man behind the monster. That the version of me that exists without adrenaline and danger is boring, insufficient. Junwoo Kang. Look at me. He did. I fell in love with you when you were cooking eggs in your kitchen. When you spoke about your mother with grief so raw it hurt to witness. When you said please like it cost you everything. Maya's thumbs traced his cheekbones. The monster is part of you. But it's not all of you. I love all of it. Even the parts stained with blood. Especially those. Because they prove you survived. That you protected what mattered. That you're human enough to regret the cost. He kissed her then, soft and slow and tasting like salvation. Marry me, he said against her lips. Maya pulled back, stared at him. What? Marry me. Not because of duty or protection or contract, but because I can't imagine a future without you in it. Because you make me want to be more than just the company and the legacy and the violence. His hands tightened on her waist. Marry me because I love you. Because you're the only person who sees me completely and chooses me anyway. Tears burned behind Maya's eyes. Yes. Yes? Yes. I'll marry you. Yes. I choose you. Yes. To every impossible future we build together. Junwoo's smile was blinding. He stood, lifting her with him, spinning her around the office. When he set her down, he pulled a ring from his pocket. Black diamond, elegant and dark and perfect. I bought this 3 days after you moved in, he admitted. Told myself it was crazy. That I couldn't possibly know so fast. But I knew, Maya. From that first moment you spoke Korean to my father, I knew you'd change everything. The ring fit perfectly. 6 months later, they married in a small ceremony. Maya's mother, healthier now, medications working, cried through the entire thing. Junwoo's security team stood as groomsmen. The nurses who'd cared for his father formed Maya's bridal party. Daejung's photo sat in the front row, watching, approving. Maya wore white. Junwoo wore black. They spoke vows in English and Korean, promised to fight for each other, to build peace from the wreckage of their pasts. When he kissed her, the small gathering erupted in applause. I love you, Junwoo whispered in Korean against her lips. 나도 사랑해, Maya replied. I love you too. Epilogue. 2 years later, Maya graduated from medical school, top of her class. Junwoo sat in the front row, cheering louder than anyone when her name was called. She specialized in hospice care, said her father-in-law had taught her that death deserved dignity, that the final days mattered as much as all the days before. Junwoo transitioned the company toward legitimate holdings, sold off the darker elements, built something his father would have been proud of. He still had edges, still carried violence beneath expensive suits, but Maya had learned to love those edges, to see them as proof he'd survived impossible things. They lived in a house halfway between his world and hers. Not quite penthouse, not quite Inglewood, something in between. Some mornings, Junwoo cooked breakfast, Korean food that tasted like his mother's recipes. Maya would sit at the counter, watching him move, still surprised that this was her life. "What are you thinking?" he'd ask. "That I'm grateful I took that delivery. That your father called you at 4 a.m. That you found me. I didn't find you. You saved me." He'd cross to where she sat, kiss her like it was the first time and the 1,000th time all at once. "You taught me that monsters can learn to love without destroying everything. We're not monsters. No, we're just people. Complicated, damaged, trying our best." His hand would settle on her stomach, where their daughter grew. "And we're going to teach her that strength and gentleness aren't opposites, that you can protect what you love without losing yourself." Maya would cover his hand with hers, feel the future moving beneath their joined palms. "She's going to have your eyes," she'd say, "and your courage. Our daughter is going to be unstoppable. God help the world." They'd laugh, kiss, plan futures that didn't require war. And sometimes, on quiet nights, Maya would speak to the photograph of Dae-jung they kept on the mantel. "Thank you, Harabaji, for seeing me, for bringing us together, for teaching Junwoo that love wasn't weakness." The house would feel warm despite the expensive emptiness. The family they were building, blood and chosen and everything in between, filled spaces that money never could. Junwoo Kang had been the tiger of Los Angeles, feared and untouchable. But with Maya Brooks Kang beside him, he learned to be something more dangerous, human. And humanity, it turned out, was the strongest weapon of all, because it gave you something worth protecting, something worth dying for, something worth living for. Welcome back, my fierce hearts and midnight dreamers. I hope this story reminded you that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone whose broken pieces fit with yours. Someone who sees your scars and calls them beautiful. Someone who fights beside you instead of trying to save you. If this chapter spoke to you, if Junwoo and Maya's journey felt real, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me what moment hit hardest. Your support helps us keep bringing these dangerous love stories to life. Until next time, remember, the most powerful people aren't the ones who never break. They're the ones who break and choose to heal. Together. Stay safe out there. And maybe take a risk on someone who scares you a little. The best love stories start with fear and end with forever.